Lucy Mills knew something was wrong the moment Gloria Whitaker smiled and pushed the porcelain cup toward her. "Drink your tea, sweetheart," her mother-in-law said too softly. Across the kitchen, Darius stood frozen, his jaw tight, his eyes avoiding hers. Lucy smelled the bitter edge beneath the chamomile. Sleeping pills. Crushed fine. So when Gloria turned to reach for a napkin, Lucy quietly switched the cups. 3 minutes later, Gloria's face went pale. Her hand slipped. The cup shattered. Darius screamed, "What did you do to my mother?" Lucy looked at him calm for the first time in years. "The better question is why she needed me unconscious tonight. If you've ever watched a kind woman get pushed too far, stay with Lucy's story because this is where her silence ends." Lucy Mills used to believe that love sounded like reassurance. Now it sounded like footsteps she dreaded hearing in the hallway. The Whitaker house sat at the edge of Lake Forest like a monument to old money and polished cruelty. Massive white columns, black iron gates, marble floors so spotless they reflected the chandeliers overhead. Everything in the house was beautiful in the kind of cold way museums were beautiful. Untouchable. Lucy stood in the kitchen alone, staring at the tiny orange prescription bottle hidden inside her purse. Her fingers tightened around it. Zolpidem. Strong enough to knock someone unconscious within minutes if mixed into a drink. Her stomach twisted. She could still hear Gloria's voice from earlier that evening. After tonight, she won't be a problem anymore. At first, Lucy had tried convincing herself she misunderstood. Maybe Gloria meant an argument. Maybe a business issue. Maybe anything except what Lucy now knew was true. But then she had found the pills. And suddenly, every strange look, every whisper, every forced smile around the Whitaker dinner table made horrifying sense. Lucy inhaled slowly, trying not to panic. The kitchen smelled faintly of vanilla candles and chamomile tea. Somewhere upstairs, water ran through the pipes. Gloria was probably fixing her makeup again. Perfect women in perfect houses always fix their makeup before destroying someone's life. Lucy Darius's voice made her flinch. She turned too quickly, almost dropping the bottle. Her husband stood in the doorway in a navy suit worth more than most people's rent. He looked exhausted, expensive, untouchable. Beautiful in the same cold way the house was. His eyes moved toward her purse. "What are you doing?" "Nothing." The answer came too fast. Darius narrowed his eyes slightly. "You've been acting strange all night." Lucy almost laughed. Strange. Not terrified. Not betrayed. Not realizing her husband and mother-in-law might be plotting something against her. Just strange. "I'm tired," she said quietly. "That again." His tone carried irritation instead of concern. It always did lately. 3 years ago, Darius would have crossed a room just to kiss her forehead if she looked stressed, back when they lived in a tiny apartment downtown and ordered cheap Thai food on the floor because they couldn't afford furniture yet, back when he used to look at her like she mattered more than his last name. Now he looked at her like she was becoming inconvenient. Darius loosened his tie. "Mom's already upset after what happened at the fundraiser. Can you please not start anything tonight?" Lucy stared at him. The fundraiser. Right. The event where Gloria had humiliated her in front of half of Chicago's elite donors because Lucy accidentally introduced one woman by her maiden name instead of her married name. Gloria had smiled sweetly afterward and whispered, "Embarrassing mistakes like that follow families forever." Darius hadn't defended her then either. He never did. Lucy swallowed the bitterness climbing her throat. "You always say that," she murmured. "Say what?" "Don't start anything. Keep the peace. Let it go." Darius sighed like she was exhausting him. "Because every time you and my mother fight, it becomes a disaster." Fight. Interesting word for what Gloria did. Fights implied equal power. Lucy had spent years being slowly carved apart by that woman, while everyone called it family tension. The criticism started small after the wedding. The way Lucy dressed was a little simple. The way she spoke was a little too emotional. Her career in luxury event planning was cute, but not exactly prestigious. Then the comments got crueler. "She's sweet, Darius, but she's not Whitaker material. Some women marry into money and still never learn elegance. You should really stop talking with your hands like that, Lucy. It looks cheap." Every insult came wrapped in pearls and perfume and a gentle smile, and Darius always let it happen. At first, Lucy thought he was trying to avoid conflict. Later, she realized something worse. He agreed with her. Darius walked toward the wine fridge. "Mom's under a lot of pressure right now." Lucy almost snapped. Pressure. Gloria spent her days hosting charity luncheons, terrorizing restaurant staff, and controlling every breath taken inside this family. Meanwhile, Lucy had spent the last 4 years shrinking herself to fit inside a marriage that only loved her when she stayed quiet. "You know," Lucy said softly, "there was a time you actually cared when I was unhappy." Darius froze for half a second before grabbing a bottle. "That's not fair." "No. No." He turned toward her, frustration flashing across his face. "You think I don't notice how hard everything's been lately? My company's under pressure, my mother's stressed, and you keep making everything emotional." Lucy stared at him in disbelief. Everything emotional. Her chest hurt suddenly, not dramatic hurt, not cinematic hurt, the kind that arrived when someone slowly convinced you your pain was inconvenient. "I gave up my promotion for you," she whispered. Darius looked away. "I moved out here for you. I spent holidays being insulted by your mother for you. I smiled through every dinner where she treated me like some stray dog you brought home." "Lucy." "No." Her voice cracked. "Do you know what the worst part is?" Darius stayed silent. "It's not even Gloria anymore." She felt tears burning now. "It's watching you become her." The words landed hard between them. For one brief moment, Darius actually looked ashamed. But shame never lasted long in the Whitaker family. A cold voice cut through the kitchen before he could answer. "There you both are." Gloria Whitaker entered, wearing cream silk and diamonds, at 8 o'clock at night, like she'd been born inside a country club. Perfect posture, perfect lipstick, perfect monster. Her eyes moved between them, instantly calculating. "Am I interrupting?" Lucy wiped her face quickly. "No." Gloria smiled. That smile terrified Lucy more now than outright cruelty ever had. "Good," Gloria said smoothly, "because family dinners are difficult enough without emotional scenes." Darius immediately straightened, like a soldier around a commander. Lucy noticed it now, the conditioning, the fear, the desperate need for approval. Gloria walked toward the tea station. "I made chamomile," she announced. "Lucy always gets so tense." Lucy's pulse exploded. There it was, the tea. Gloria reached for 2 porcelain cups, elegant white with gold trim. Lucy suddenly remembered finding the prescription bottle hidden behind those imported tea tins less than an hour ago. Her skin turned cold. Darius checked his watch again. Nervous. Waiting. Lucy looked at her husband carefully. Did he know? That question hurt more than the affair ever could. Because if he knew, then the man she married was already gone. Gloria stirred 1 cup longer than the other. Just slightly, almost invisible. But Lucy saw it. And then Gloria placed that cup directly in front of her. "Drink," Gloria said sweetly. Lucy looked down at the tea. Steam curled upward softly. Chamomile, honey, and betrayal. She lifted her eyes slowly toward Darius. He still wouldn't look at her. That was answer enough. Lucy barely slept that night, even after Gloria collapsed, even after the ambulance lights painted the Whitaker mansion in flashing red and blue, even after Darius accused her with rage in his eyes, before the toxicology report forced everyone into silence. The house still felt poisoned. By morning, the silence between Lucy and Darius had become something living, something ugly. Rain pressed against the penthouse windows as Lucy stood barefoot in the kitchen of their downtown apartment, staring at the untouched coffee growing cold in her hands. Darius hadn't come home until almost 3 in the morning. He walked in smelling like hospital sanitizer and expensive cologne, then disappeared into the guest bedroom without saying a word. No apology, no explanation, nothing. Lucy used to think silence meant peace. Now she understood silence was how people buried women alive. She heard footsteps behind her. Darius entered wearing gray sweatpants and exhaustion across his face. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, but somehow he still looked polished enough for a magazine cover. Men like Darius always did. The world forgave handsome men faster. "How's your mother?" Lucy asked flatly. Darius opened the fridge without looking at her. "Recovering. That's good." Another silence. He grabbed sparkling water. Lucy noticed his hand trembling slightly. Fear. Not for Gloria, for himself. Finally, he turned toward her. The doctor said the dosage wasn't life-threatening. Lucy laughed softly under her breath. Darius frowned. What's funny? You still think that's the problem? His jaw tightened instantly. I'm not doing this today. No, Lucy replied quietly. You've been doing this for years. He looked away again. Coward. That realization hurt more now, because Lucy finally allowed herself to say it inside her own head. Darius Whitaker was a coward, not because he cheated, not because he lied, because he watched people destroy her and called it maintaining peace. You embarrassed my mother, he muttered. Lucy stared at him in disbelief. Embarrassed. Not drugged me. Not betrayed me. Not why did my mother put sleeping pills in your tea? Embarrassed. The word cracked something inside her permanently. She tried to drug me. You don't know that. Lucy's expression went cold. She literally drank the same cup. Darius rubbed his face roughly. You switched them. Yes. You manipulated the situation. Lucy almost admired the audacity. You mean I survived the situation? He slammed the bottle onto the counter hard enough to make her flinch. There you go again, he snapped. Everything becomes some dramatic victim story with you. Victim. Lucy looked at the man she married and suddenly remembered every moment she ignored, every tiny betrayal she explained away because she loved him. The first year of marriage, Darius used to bring her flowers after work. By the third year, he barely looked up from his phone during dinner. By the fourth year, he corrected the way she laughed in public because Gloria said it sounded unrefined. And somehow Lucy kept convincing herself marriage just required sacrifice. No. Marriage required love. What she had been living inside was obedience. Darius sighed heavily. Look, Mom's under a lot of stress right now. There it is again. What? Lucy stepped closer slowly. That thing you do, where your mother becomes the victim no matter what happens. Darius stayed silent. She insults me, humiliates me, manipulates me, and now apparently tries to drug me. Lucy's voice shook. And somehow you still protect her. She's my mother, and I'm your wife. The words hit harder than she intended, because neither of them believed them anymore. Darius looked exhausted suddenly. For one brief second, Lucy saw the younger version of him underneath everything. The man who used to dance with her in the kitchen at midnight. The man who promised her they'd build a different kind of family than the cold one he grew up inside. But that man disappeared every time Gloria entered the room. Darius sat heavily at the kitchen island. You don't understand what she's been through. Lucy laughed bitterly. No, Darius, you don't understand what I've been through. He looked up sharply. I spent 4 years trying to earn basic kindness from your family. Her eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. Do you know how humiliating that is? You're exaggerating. That word. Exaggerating. Women heard it right before they completely disappeared. Lucy walked toward the hallway silently before she said something she couldn't take back. But then Darius spoke again. You've changed lately. She froze, slowly turned around. Changed. You're colder. He rubbed his temple, defensive, suspicious all the time. Lucy stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Because you're cheating on me. The room went still. Darius's face emptied completely. Got you. Lucy saw it immediately. The panic. Tiny. Brief. But there. What? She stepped closer carefully. The hotel receipt. Darius blinked once. Too slowly. Lucy's heart broke all over again anyway, even now, even after everything, because some stupid part of her still wanted him to deny it convincingly. Lucy. The Langford Hotel, she interrupted softly. Room 2814. Darius said nothing. That night you told me you were working late for our future. His silence confessed everything. Lucy nodded slowly, swallowing against the nausea rising in her throat. Who is Serena Cole? Darius stood immediately. You went through my things. Lucy almost smiled. There it was. Not guilt. Deflection. You slept with another woman, and you're upset I checked your jacket pocket. It's not what you think. Every cheating man in America probably shared the same script. Lucy crossed her arms tightly around herself. Then explain it. Darius paced once through the kitchen. Agitated, cornered. It was complicated. Complicated. She understands the pressure I'm under. Lucy felt something inside her die quietly. She understands pressure, Lucy repeated softly. I understand humiliation. That's not fair. No, Lucy whispered. What you did isn't fair. Darius looked frustrated now instead of guilty, like her pain was becoming inconvenient again. It didn't mean anything. That sentence hurt worse than the affair, because Lucy suddenly realized something devastating. He meant it. Serena mattered enough to risk his marriage, but Lucy didn't matter enough to protect it. You know what's funny, Lucy said quietly. Darius looked wary now. I spent years blaming your mother for everything wrong in this marriage. She stepped closer. But Gloria didn't betray me. Darius swallowed. You did. For the first time since she met him, Darius had no response. Rain hammered against the windows harder. Chicago blurred silver outside the glass. Lucy suddenly felt exhausted beyond words. Not dramatic exhausted, soul exhausted. The kind that happened when you carried a relationship alone for too long. She turned toward the bedroom silently. Lucy. She stopped. Darius's voice softened slightly behind her. Not loving. Just nervous. We can fix this. Lucy closed her eyes. That was the problem. He still thought this was about fixing appearances, fixing scandals, fixing consequences, not fixing her. Slowly she reached into her purse and pulled out the folded hotel receipt. Then she placed it on the counter beside him. I don't think you understand yet, she whispered. Darius looked down at the receipt, then back at her. Lucy's eyes were empty now. The woman you cheated on, she said softly, was the last person in this marriage still trying. Lucy waited 3 days before following Darius, not because she doubted he was cheating anymore, because part of her still feared confirmation more than betrayal itself. There was a strange kind of safety in uncertainty, a tiny space where hope could still breathe. But once you saw the truth with your own eyes, there was no way back to denial, and Lucy was beginning to understand that denial had been the real foundation of her marriage. Thursday night, Chicago glittered beneath freezing rain as Lucy parked across from the Langford Hotel downtown. Luxury rose from every inch of the building. Gold-trimmed windows, valets in black coats, women in designer heels disappearing through revolving glass doors beside men who looked like they had never heard the word no. Exactly Darius's world. Lucy tightened her fingers around the steering wheel. Her phone screen glowed in the dark car. 11:07 p.m. Darius had texted her 40 minutes earlier. Board meeting running late. Don't wait up. The lie sat in her chest like acid now. She watched the hotel entrance carefully. Then she saw him. Darius stepped out of a black town car wearing the charcoal coat she bought him for Christmas 2 years ago, the one he barely thanked her for because Gloria said cashmere wasn't really his color. Lucy's stomach twisted. He looked relaxed tonight, not stressed, not burdened, relaxed. A beautiful blonde woman appeared beside him seconds later. Serena Cole. Lucy knew immediately. Some women entered a room like a performance. Serena moved like one. Tall, elegant, sharp cheekbones, long camel coat over a black silk dress. She laughed at something Darius said and touched his chest lightly. The gesture was intimate, practiced, comfortable. Lucy stopped breathing for a moment, because Darius smiled, not the strained, polite smile he gave Lucy lately, a real one, warm, easy, alive. She couldn't remember the last time he smiled at her like that. The pain hit harder than she expected. Not explosive, not dramatic, just deep, like slowly realizing the person you loved had already left emotionally long before they left physically. Lucy watched them disappear into the hotel lobby together. Her body moved before her brain caught up. She grabbed her coat and stepped out into the freezing rain. Inside, the hotel smelled like expensive perfume and polished marble. Soft jazz floated through the lobby bar, while wealthy strangers laughed over cocktails under dim, golden lighting. Everything looked beautiful. That was the terrifying thing about betrayal. Sometimes it happened in places pretty enough to look romantic. Lucy kept her distance as Darius and Serena entered the bar lounge near the back windows. They sat close together, too close. Serena leaned toward him immediately. You look exhausted. Darius loosened his tie slightly. You have no idea. Oh, I think I do. Serena smiled knowingly. Your mother called me. Lucy froze behind a column near the hallway entrance. Gloria called Serena. Of course she did. Darius rubbed his jaw tiredly. She's furious. She's embarrassed, Serena corrected. There's a difference. The waitress arrived with drinks. Whiskey for Darius. Red wine for Serena. Lucy suddenly remembered how Darius used to memorize her coffee orders when they were dating. Now, another woman probably knew what side of the bed he slept on. She wasn't supposed to switch the cups, Darius muttered quietly. Lucy's blood turned cold. Serena glanced around before lowering her voice. Do you think she suspects something? No. Darius drank quickly. Lucy's emotional, but she's not calculating. Emotional. There was that word again. The word men used when women noticed patterns they wanted hidden. Serena crossed one elegant leg over the other. Still, this is getting messy. I know. You promised me the divorce would already be handled. Lucy felt her pulse hammer violently now. Divorce. Handled. Darius leaned back heavily. It almost was. What does that mean? She was supposed to sign the financial transfer paperwork last week. Lucy's vision blurred slightly. Financial transfer. The papers he called temporary agreements. Serena sighed impatiently. Darius, if this falls apart, your mother's going to blame me. She already blames everyone, maybe because everyone keeps making mistakes. His expression darkened slightly. Careful. Interesting. For the first time, Lucy noticed something she hadn't expected. Darius wasn't fully in control around Serena either. Serena softened, instantly touching his wrist. I'm sorry. I'm just tired of hiding. Lucy nearly laughed at the irony. Tired of hiding. Meanwhile, Lucy spent 4 years shrinking herself into invisibility to keep this marriage alive. Serena leaned closer. When are you telling her? Darius stared into his drink silently. Then he said something that broke Lucy in a completely different way. I did love her once. Once. Past tense. Serena's expression shifted slightly, and now Darius hesitated. That hesitation destroyed Lucy more than if he'd answered immediately, because it meant he had to think about it. Finally, he exhaled slowly. Now I just want peace. Peace. Men like Darius always called abandonment peace when they were the ones doing the leaving. Serena studied him carefully. And what happens if Lucy fights the divorce? She won't. The confidence in his voice made Lucy feel sick. She trusts me too much. Lucy physically recoiled behind the column. That sentence would stay with her forever. Not because it was cruel, because it was true. Serena swirled her wine slowly. Your mother better not screw this up again. She won't. And the paperwork, Darius lowered his voice further. Lucy had to strain to hear. She just needs to be confused enough to sign. Lucy stopped breathing entirely. Confused enough. The tea. The pills. Oh my God. Serena nodded slowly. And after that, Darius muttered, Lucy walks away with the settlement, everyone keeps their reputation, and this ends quietly. Quietly. Like her life was some inconvenient scandal management issue. Lucy felt nausea rise violently in her throat. Not because her husband cheated, not even because Gloria drugged her, but because they spoke about destroying her so casually, like she wasn't human, like she was paperwork, an obstacle. A mess to clean up before Darius could move on to a prettier life. Serena smiled faintly then. And Darius looked at her, really looked at her, the same way he used to look at Lucy. We won't have to hide anymore. Lucy's chest caved inward. That was it. That was the moment something irreversible happened inside her. Not rage, not hysteria. Clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. Her marriage was over, not because Darius slept with another woman, because he helped plan the destruction of the woman who loved him most. Lucy stepped backward carefully before either of them noticed her. Her legs felt weak by the time she reached the hallway. She walked fast through the lobby, barely hearing the piano music anymore. Outside, freezing rain hit her skin hard enough to sting. She reached her car and locked the doors immediately. Then she finally broke. Not loudly. That was the strange part. No screaming, no dramatic sobbing. Just silent tears sliding down her face while her entire body shook. Lucy pressed both hands over her mouth. She thought heartbreak would feel louder. Instead, it felt like drowning quietly. Her phone buzzed suddenly in her lap. Unknown rage flashed through her before she looked down. But it wasn't Darius. It was Gloria. One text message. Simple. Cold. Family tea tomorrow night. Don't be late. Lucy stared at the screen for a very long time. Then slowly, she stopped crying. Because suddenly she understood something terrifying. Tomorrow night wasn't family tea, it was an ambush. And for the first time in years, Lucy was done walking into traps unprepared. Lucy spent the next afternoon pretending her life wasn't collapsing. She answered client emails, confirmed floral arrangements for a charity gala, smiled through a Zoom meeting with a luxury hotel coordinator discussing centerpiece colors. Meanwhile, her husband and mother-in-law were planning to drug her into signing away her future. By 6:30 that evening, Chicago's sky had turned dark blue with incoming snow. Lucy stood in front of the bathroom mirror, fastening pearl earrings, with hands far steadier than she felt. For the first time in years, she didn't dress to please Gloria Whitaker. She dressed like armor. Black cashmere coat, cream silk blouse, sharp heels, hair sleek and controlled. If Gloria wanted a performance tonight, Lucy intended to give her one. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Darius, Mom's expecting you at 7. Not, are you okay? Not, can we talk? Just logistics. Lucy stared at the message for a long moment before replying. On my way. Nothing else. The drive to the Whitaker estate felt surreal. Christmas lights glowed across wealthy suburban streets while soft snow drifted over manicured lawns. Families sat inside warm houses, eating dinner, arguing over harmless things, living ordinary lives. Lucy suddenly realized how abnormal hers had become. She parked slowly in front of the mansion. The enormous windows glowed gold against the snow-covered night. Beautiful, cold, predatory. By the time Gloria herself opened the front door, Lucy had already locked every emotion behind her ribs. There you are, Gloria said smoothly. No mention of the hospital, no mention of the tea, no apology. Of course not. Gloria Whitaker had spent decades turning cruelty into elegance. She wore ivory silk tonight with diamond earrings sharp enough to cut glass. Her makeup was flawless, hair perfect, like she hadn't almost drugged her daughter-in-law 24 hours earlier. Lucy stepped inside carefully. The mansion smelled like polished wood and expensive candles. Darius stood near the fireplace in the formal living room, one hand in his pocket, tension visible even from across the room. His eyes met Lucy's briefly, then dropped away. Coward. Sit, Gloria said warmly. I made tea. Lucy nearly smiled at the audacity. Of course she did. The kitchen looked exactly the same as the night before. Marble counters, soft under-cabinet lighting, white orchids near the sink, and 2 porcelain cups waiting beside the kettle. Lucy noticed everything now, the way Gloria's right hand hovered protectively near one cup, the faint powder residue near the saucer, the nervous energy beneath Gloria's polished exterior. For the first time, Lucy realized something important. Gloria wasn't calm. She was afraid. Good. You look tired, Gloria observed as she poured hot water into the cups. Lucy removed her coat slowly. Long week, I imagine. The words carried meaning underneath them. Darius stayed near the doorway, strangely silent, like he wanted to be anywhere else. That almost made Lucy laugh. Men like Darius loved power until they had to witness the consequences of it. Gloria stirred one cup carefully, longer, again. Lucy watched the spoon circle slowly inside the porcelain. Once, twice, 3 times. Then Gloria pushed that cup directly toward Lucy. Chamomile, Gloria said sweetly. It helps people relax. Lucy looked down at the tea. Steam curled upward softly. God, she really thought Lucy would drink it. Maybe that was the cruelest part, not the betrayal, the certainty. They were completely convinced Lucy would obey. Years of silence had trained them to underestimate her. Lucy lifted the cup slightly, pretended hesitation. Gloria's eyes sharpened instantly. There's honey in it, Gloria added quickly. Just how you like. Darius finally spoke. Lucy. His voice sounded strained, warning her guilty too late either way. Lucy looked directly at him. You seem nervous. I'm not. Lie. She could hear it. Gloria sat gracefully across from her. Darius has always hated conflict. Conflict. Another beautiful word for abuse. Lucy brought the cup near her lips. Didn't drink. Just enough to make Gloria relax slightly. Then Lucy lowered it again. I was thinking about something Serena said. The effect was immediate. Darius went pale. Gloria's expression hardened for a fraction of a second. There it is. Lucy almost admired herself for how calm she sounded. She said, "Your mother shouldn't screw this up again." Silence exploded across the kitchen. Darius stepped forward instantly. What Lucy looked at him innocently. Oh. Did I misunderstand Gloria recovered first? Impressive woman. Dangerous woman. I'm afraid I don't know who Serena is, really. Lucy tilted her head softly. That's strange. Darius's jaw clenched hard enough to hurt. Lucy, he said sharply. No, not sharp. Afraid. She heard the difference now. Lucy turned toward him fully. I went to the Langford last night. That landed like a grenade. Gloria slowly set her teacup down. Darius looked furious now, but beneath the anger, Lucy saw panic spreading rapidly. You followed me. You lied to me. That's not the point. Lucy almost laughed. Men always said that when truth cornered them. Gloria's voice became icy smooth. Marriages go through difficult periods, Lucy. Emotional reactions only make things uglier. Emotional. Again. Lucy leaned back slowly in her chair. You know, she said quietly, it's fascinating how every terrible thing done to me becomes my fault for reacting to it. Neither of them answered. Snow fell softly outside the massive kitchen windows. The silence felt suffocating now. Then Gloria smiled suddenly. Wrong move, because Lucy recognized fake smiles now. Perhaps Gloria said carefully, we should all calm down before discussing serious matters. Her eyes flicked toward the tea. Drink it. Lucy could practically hear the thought. Drink it and become manageable again. Lucy picked up the cup once more. Gloria watched too closely. Darius looked trapped between terror and guilt. And suddenly Lucy realized something else. Darius knew exactly what was in the tea. Maybe not the dosage, maybe not the details, but enough. Enough to stand there silently while his mother poisoned his wife. That realization erased the last fragile piece of love Lucy still carried for him. Gone. Completely gone. She lifted the cup slightly higher, then paused. Oh, Lucy said softly. I forgot my phone in the living room. Gloria's eyes flashed irritation. I'll get it, Darius offered immediately. No, Lucy replied calmly. I'll be right back. She stood slowly. Gloria watched her every movement carefully. Lucy walked toward the doorway, then deliberately stopped near the kitchen island. Her purse slid slightly from her shoulder. Pens spilled across the marble floor. Oh my God, Lucy muttered. Instinctively, Gloria turned her head. Only for 2 seconds. But 2 seconds was enough. Lucy moved instantly. One smooth motion. She switched the cups. Her pulse thundered violently in her ears. Then she crouched to collect the pens calmly. By the time Gloria looked back, everything appeared untouched. Lucy returned to her chair, smiled faintly, and waited. Gloria lifted her own cup first. The wrong cup. Lucy's heartbeat became deafening. Darius looked distracted, rubbing his forehead anxiously. Neither of them noticed. Gloria took one sip, then another, then another. Lucy sat perfectly still. 5 minutes passed. Conversation stumbled awkwardly around meaningless topics. A charity auction, Darius's company, weather. Then Gloria blinked strangely. Once. Twice. Her hand trembled slightly against the porcelain. Lucy saw confusion flicker across her face first. Then disorientation. Darius noticed too. Mom. Gloria reached for the edge of the counter. Missed. The cup slipped from her fingers and shattered across the marble floor. Tea splashed everywhere. What the Gloria swayed violently. Darius lunged forward. Mom Lucy remained seated. Cold. Still. Watching. Gloria's words slurred suddenly. I don't. Then her knees buckled. Darius caught her barely in time. Panic exploded across the kitchen. Call 911, he shouted. Lucy didn't move. Darius looked up at her in horror. What did you do? The accusation rang through the room. For one brief moment, the old Lucy almost surfaced. The apologetic Lucy. The frightened Lucy. The woman trained to defend herself even when innocent. But she was gone now. Lucy stood slowly from the table, looked directly into Darius's eyes, and spoke with terrifying calm. "The better question," she said softly, "is what she planned to do to me." The ambulance arrived in under 7 minutes. It felt like 7 years. Red and blue lights flashed violently across the Whitaker mansion, while snow spiraled through the dark suburban street outside. The front doors stood open. Cold air rushed through the marble foyer. Somewhere nearby, a neighbor's dog barked endlessly. Chaos had finally entered the Whitaker home. Lucy stood near the kitchen island, exactly where she had been when Gloria collapsed. She hadn't moved much, hadn't panicked, hadn't cried. That alone seemed to terrify Darius more than anything else. Paramedics rushed through the doorway carrying equipment while Gloria drifted in and out of consciousness against the hardwood floor. Her silk blouse was wrinkled now, mascara faintly smudged beneath one eye. For the first time since Lucy met her, Gloria Whitaker looked human, fragile, mortal, and furious. "She's disoriented," one paramedic said quickly while checking Gloria's pulse. "Possible overdose." Darius immediately turned toward Lucy. She did something to her. Lucy almost smiled at how fast he said it. No hesitation, no confusion, just instinctive blame. The younger paramedic looked between them carefully. "Sir, we need details, not accusations." She switched something Darius snapped. "My mother was fine before she got here." Lucy finally spoke. "Interesting," she said quietly. Darius glared at her. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Gloria prepared the tea herself." The room went silent for half a second. One of the paramedics looked down at the shattered porcelain pieces near the floor. "What kind of tea?" Chamomile Lucy answered calmly. Gloria suddenly grabbed the paramedic's sleeve weakly. Gloria slurred. "She poisoned me." There it was. Even drugged Gloria Whitaker still performed. Lucy crossed her arms slowly. "No," she replied softly. "You drank from your own cup." Darius exploded instantly. "Oh my God, stop talking like that." The force of his voice bounced through the kitchen. Everyone froze. Lucy stared at him. Not frightened, just tired. "You know what's amazing?" she whispered. "You didn't even ask if I was okay tonight." Darius blinked hard. "What?" "Your mother collapses after trying to drug me, and somehow I'm still the villain. She did not try to drug you." Lucy reached into her purse calmly, then placed the orange prescription bottle onto the marble counter, the same bottle she found, hidden behind Gloria's imported tea tins. Silence crashed into the room. One paramedic immediately picked it up. "Zolpidem," he read. Darius's face changed instantly. Tiny shift, tiny panic. Lucy noticed. Of course she noticed. "You recognize it?" she asked quietly. Darius looked away too fast. "No. Lie." The paramedic turned toward Gloria. "Ma'am, is this your prescription?" Gloria's expression flickered. That was all the confirmation Lucy needed. "She has insomnia," Lucy said calmly. "Or at least that's what she tells everyone." "Lucy," Darius warned. "No," Lucy interrupted. "I'm done protecting this family." The older paramedic exchanged a glance with his partner. Professionals learn to recognize toxic households quickly. And suddenly, the Whitakers no longer looked like elegant suburban royalty. They looked dangerous. Gloria's eyes fluttered weakly. "She's unstable." Lucy almost laughed. Unstable. There was that word again, the favorite weapon of manipulative people everywhere. She switched the cups, Gloria whispered dramatically. "Yes," Lucy replied immediately. Everyone looked at her. Darius stared in disbelief. "You admit it?" Lucy held his gaze. "I switched the cups because I realized your mother was trying to drug me." The truth landed heavily across the room. Darius rubbed his face aggressively. "Jesus Christ!" One paramedic stood carefully. "We need to transport her now." The next 15 minutes blurred together in cold, fluorescent panic. Gloria was loaded onto a stretcher, still muttering weak accusations between drifting consciousness. Darius followed close beside her, issuing orders to everyone around him, like control alone could undo reality. Lucy watched him quietly from the foyer. Not once did he come to her side. Not once did he ask why she felt unsafe enough to switch the cups. That hurt more than the cheating now, because betrayal from strangers was survivable. Betrayal from someone who once promised to protect you rewrote your entire understanding of love. As paramedics wheeled Gloria toward the ambulance, she suddenly reached for Darius's wrist weakly. Don't. Trust her. Lucy heard it clearly. Even half-conscious, Gloria still needed Lucy destroyed. Darius glanced back toward his wife. Their eyes met, and for one terrifying second, Lucy realized something. He wasn't sure who he believed anymore. Good. The emergency room smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion. Bright white lighting reflected harshly against polished hospital floors, while nurses moved rapidly between curtained rooms. Darius paced near the waiting area, like a man unraveling thread by thread. Lucy sat silently 3 chairs away. The distance between them felt permanent now. Finally, Darius stopped pacing. You should have just talked to me. Lucy stared at him slowly. I did. That's not what I mean. No, she replied softly. You mean I should have stayed manageable. His jaw clenched. You're twisting everything. Lucy looked exhausted suddenly. Not angry, not hysterical, just done. She put drugs in my tea. You don't know that. She stirred one cup longer than the other. You're assuming intent. Lucy laughed quietly under her breath. There it was again. The lawyer language. The corporate language. Intent. Perception. Miscommunication. Anything except truth. You know what's terrifying, Lucy whispered. You still sound more worried about defending her than protecting me. Darius looked away, because he knew she was right. A doctor finally approached around midnight. Mrs. Whitaker is stable, he explained. The dosage appears non-lethal. Lucy noticed Darius physically relax. Then the doctor continued. We also confirmed the medication in her system matches the prescription bottle recovered at the residence. Darius froze again. Lucy stayed silent. The doctor looked between them carefully. Was the medication prescribed to Mrs. Whitaker? Another pause. Yes, Darius admitted quietly. The doctor nodded once. We'll keep her overnight for observation. Then he walked away, and suddenly the entire narrative cracked apart. Because facts existed now. Medical records existed. Evidence existed. No amount of Whitaker money could erase toxicology reports. Darius sat down heavily across from Lucy. For the first time all night, he looked genuinely afraid. She could have died. Lucy stared at him for several seconds, then answered honestly. So could I. The words hit him harder than shouting ever would have. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Darius spoke again, quieter this time. My mother wouldn't intentionally hurt you. Lucy felt something cold settle permanently inside her chest. You still believe that? She's difficult, he muttered. Controlling. But she's not. She tried to drug me into signing papers. Darius's head snapped toward her instantly. What papers? Interesting. Too fast. Too defensive. Lucy noticed everything now. The financial agreements you wanted signed. That's ridiculous. Is it? Before he could answer, a nurse appeared nearby, holding a clipboard. Young, blonde, tired eyes. Her badge read Nora Fields. Mrs. Mills, she asked quietly. Lucy stood immediately. Nora glanced briefly toward Darius before lowering her voice. Can I speak to you privately? Darius frowned. About what Nora ignored him professionally. Lucy followed her several feet down the hallway. The nurse hesitated slightly before speaking. I probably shouldn't say this, Nora admitted softly. But your mother-in-law was here last week. Lucy's stomach tightened. What? She requested a private consultation under another name. Cold rushed through Lucy instantly. Nora looked uncomfortable now. She mentioned concerns about a female family member showing signs of emotional instability. Lucy stopped breathing. She was building documentation, Nora whispered carefully. I overheard enough to realize something felt wrong. Lucy stared at her in horror. Not paranoia, not imagination. Planning. This had been planned. Nora's expression softened slightly. Mrs. Mills, she said quietly, I think your mother-in-law was building a file on you. Lucy didn't go home with Darius that night. For the first time in 4 years of marriage, she chose herself over keeping the peace. The realization felt both terrifying and strangely addictive. At 2 in the morning, she sat inside Maya Bennett's apartment, wrapped in an oversized gray sweater, while snow drifted softly beyond the windows. Maya placed a mug of coffee in front of her without speaking. No judgment, no pressure, just warmth. Lucy almost cried because she'd forgotten what uncomplicated kindness felt like. Maya sat across from her at the kitchen table carefully. "Okay," she said softly. "Tell me everything." And Lucy did. The affair, the hotel, the tea, the pills, the hospital, the secret psychiatric file Gloria had been building behind her back. By the time she finished, Maya looked horrified. "Oh my God," she whispered. Lucy stared numbly into her coffee. "I sound insane saying it out loud." "No." Maya's voice sharpened instantly. "You sound like a woman people have been gaslighting for years." That word hit Lucy harder than expected. Gaslighting. She'd seen it online before, heard therapists discuss it in podcasts, but somehow she never applied it to her own marriage. Now the signs looked obvious. Every time Gloria insulted her and Darius said she was too sensitive. Every time Darius lied and then accused Lucy of overreacting. Every time Lucy's instincts screamed danger while everyone around her insisted she was imagining things. Maya reached across the table. "You need a lawyer." Lucy nodded slowly. "I know." "No," Maya corrected gently. "You need a shark." Despite everything, Lucy laughed weakly. Maya immediately grabbed her phone. "One of my clients went through a brutal divorce last year. Her attorney was incredible." Within 20 minutes, Lucy found herself sitting across from Rachel Monroe the next morning, inside a sleek downtown law office overlooking the Chicago River. Rachel looked exactly like the kind of woman who terrified powerful men. Sharp navy suit, dark curls, minimal makeup, eyes that missed absolutely nothing. By the time Lucy finished explaining the situation, Rachel's expression had become dangerously calm. "That's coercive control," she said immediately. Lucy blinked. "What?" Rachel folded her hands carefully. "Financial manipulation, emotional abuse, isolation, psychological destabilization." Her jaw tightened slightly. "And if they intentionally drugged you to obtain signatures, we're crossing into criminal territory." Lucy felt cold all over again. Hearing it spoken so plainly made it real in a different way. Not family drama, not marital problems. Abuse. Rachel leaned back slightly. "Do you still have the financial documents Darius wanted you to sign?" Lucy nodded. "At the apartment." "Good. Do not mention them to him." Lucy hesitated. "You really think Gloria was building a psychiatric case against me?" Rachel gave her a long look. "Lucy, wealthy families don't always destroy people loudly." Her voice softened slightly. "Sometimes they do it through paperwork." The sentence made Lucy nauseous. Rachel opened a legal pad. "Tell me exactly what the hospital nurse said." Lucy repeated Nora's words carefully. Rachel wrote notes quickly. Then she asked something unexpected. "Has Darius ever tried to convince you your memory was unreliable?" Lucy frowned. "What do you mean phrases like, 'that never happened'? You're imagining things. You're too emotional. You always twist reality." Lucy's silence answered for her. Rachel nodded grimly. "Classic." Lucy stared down at her hands. Suddenly, memories surfaced one after another, like broken glass rising through water. Darius insisting Gloria didn't mean it that way. Darius claiming Lucy embarrassed herself after family dinners, where Gloria humiliated her. Darius saying she was paranoid whenever she questioned missing money from their joint accounts. Slowly, carefully, systematically, they made her doubt herself. Rachel slid a tissue box closer. Lucy hadn't realized tears were falling. "I really thought I was failing as a wife," she whispered. Rachel's expression softened for the first time. "That's what manipulation is designed to do." Silence settled heavily across the office. Finally, Rachel spoke again. "We need evidence." Lucy wiped her eyes quickly. "I have some. Show me." Over the next hour, Lucy handed over screenshots of bank transfers, text messages from Gloria hotel receipts, photos of the prescription bottle voice memos she started recording after Maya warned her months ago. Rachel studied everything carefully. Then her expression changed. "What is it?" Lucy asked immediately. Rachel pulled out one document from the stack. "The temporary financial agreement." Lucy remembered Darius placing it casually in front of her 2 weeks earlier while cooking dinner. Just legal restructuring, he said. Now Rachel stared at the signature line intensely. Lucy, she said slowly, did you sign this? No. Rachel turned the paper toward her. At the bottom sat Lucy's signature, or something trying very hard to look like it. Lucy's blood turned to ice. Oh my God. Rachel's face darkened. That's not your handwriting. No, Lucy whispered. The signature looked almost right, almost, but certain letters curved wrong. Too careful, too practiced, like someone copied it repeatedly before attempting the real version. Lucy suddenly remembered something horrifying. 3 months ago, Gloria asked her to sign thank you cards for a charity event because your handwriting is prettier than mine. Pages and pages of signatures. Practice material. Rachel immediately pulled another file closer, and this Lucy stared at the next document. Property authorization paperwork. Her father's investment land in Michigan. The small piece of real estate he left her before dying. The one thing Lucy never allowed the Whitakers near emotionally, because it reminded her of simpler times before wealth and appearances poisoned her life. Her fake signature appeared there too. Lucy physically recoiled. No. Rachel looked furious now. They were preparing asset transfers. Lucy's chest tightened painfully. Darius knew how much that property meant to her. When her father died, Lucy spent nights crying in Darius's arms while he promised nobody would ever take advantage of her again. And all along, he was helping them do exactly that. Rachel closed the folder carefully. This isn't just divorce strategy anymore. Lucy looked up slowly. This is fraud. The word echoed through her body. Fraud. Forgery. Psychological manipulation. Drugging. Suddenly, the marriage she spent years trying to save looked less like love and more like a crime scene. Rachel leaned forward slightly. Listen carefully to me. Her tone became razor sharp. From this point forward, you do not meet Darius or Gloria alone unless we decide strategically. You do not sign anything. You do not tell them what we know. Lucy nodded numbly. And Lucy, yes. Rachel's eyes locked onto hers. You need to stop thinking like a wife trying to save her marriage. A pause. Then, you need to start thinking like a woman surviving people who plan to destroy her. The truth of it settled heavily into Lucy's chest. Not emotionally, physically, like armor locking into place. Her phone buzzed suddenly on the desk. Darius. 3 missed calls. 1 text. Where are you? Another. We need to talk before this gets worse. Lucy stared at the messages for several long seconds. Before this gets worse. Interesting. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry, just damage control. Rachel noticed her expression. What did he say? Lucy handed over the phone silently. Rachel read the messages once and exhaled softly through her nose. He's scared. Lucy looked down. Good. For the first time since all of this started, she wanted him to be. Rachel handed the phone back carefully. Then she spoke the sentence that changed everything. Lucy, she said quietly, this wasn't a divorce plan. A beat passed. This was a trap. The strangest part about finally breaking was how calm Lucy became afterward. Not happy, not healed, just clear. Like someone had spent years fogging every mirror around her, and suddenly she could finally see the room she'd been trapped inside. 3 days after meeting Rachel Monroe, Lucy returned to the penthouse she shared with Darius. Not because she trusted him, because Rachel told her something important before she left the law office. Men like your husband panic when they lose control, Rachel said. That panic makes them sloppy. Lucy understood now. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need revenge yet. She needed evidence. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse foyer with its usual polished silence. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown Chicago, while pale winter sunlight spilled across marble floors. The apartment looked exactly the same, but Lucy didn't. Darius stood near the kitchen island the moment she walked in. Relief flashed across his face so quickly it almost looked genuine. Thank God. Interesting. Not, I'm sorry. Not I was worried. Just relief that she came back. Lucy removed her gloves slowly. You called 17 times, you disappeared. I stayed with Maya. Darius exhaled sharply, without telling me. Lucy almost laughed. You lost the right to track my whereabouts somewhere between the affair and attempted drugging. His jaw tightened immediately. Stop calling it that. That's exactly what it was. Darius rubbed his forehead roughly. Lucy, my mother made a mistake. No. Lucy's voice stayed calm. A mistake is forgetting almond milk at the grocery store. Your mother put sedatives in my tea. He looked exhausted again, but Lucy saw him differently now. Before, she mistook exhaustion for emotional depth. Now she recognized it as entitlement colliding with consequences. I'm trying to fix this, Darius muttered. No, Lucy replied softly. You're trying to contain it. The silence stretched between them. Darius studied her carefully. Something in his expression shifted. Suspicion. Because Lucy wasn't crying, wasn't begging, wasn't chasing reassurance. That frightened him. You've changed, he said quietly. Lucy placed her purse on the counter. Maybe I finally woke up. For a moment, neither spoke. Then suddenly Darius moved closer. I ended things with Serena. Lucy felt nothing. That realization shocked her more than the confession. Nothing. Not jealousy, not heartbreak, just emptiness. You expect applause? She asked. His face hardened slightly. Can you stop acting like I'm some monster? Lucy stared at him carefully, then answered honestly. I think you're finally acting like yourself. That one landed. She saw it in his eyes immediately. Pain. Real pain. Good. Because for years, Lucy carried pain alone, while Darius called it overreacting. Now he could hold some of it too. Darius turned away first. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under. There it is again. What? The excuse. Lucy walked slowly through the living room as she spoke. The pressure excuse. The family excuse. The stress excuse. She turned toward him. At what point do your choices become your fault? Darius opened his mouth, closed it again. Exactly. Lucy moved toward the hallway calmly. I'm grabbing a few things. What things mine? His expression sharpened instantly. Possession. Control. Fear. Lucy recognized all three now. You're not leaving, he said carefully. Not asked. Said. Lucy looked at him over her shoulder. Watch me. For the next hour, Lucy packed strategically, not emotionally. Rachel had instructed her carefully. Take documents first. Sentimental items second. Everything else can burn. So Lucy moved quietly through the apartment, gathering her passport, tax records, bank statements, backup hard drives, property paperwork from her father, contracts from her event business jewelry, inherited from her grandmother. She photographed everything before placing it into boxes. Every drawer, every cabinet, every document, evidence, protection, freedom. Darius followed her, eventually leaning against the bedroom doorway while she packed. You really think I'd steal from you? Lucy folded another sweater carefully before answering. I think you already tried. That silenced him. Good. The master bedroom suddenly looked unfamiliar to her. The massive king bed, designer lamps, cashmere blankets, all purchased to create the illusion of a perfect marriage. Lucy remembered crying quietly in this very bathroom after Gloria told her she lacked the emotional discipline required for motherhood. Darius heard it, and still chose silence. That memory hurt differently now, not because Gloria said it, because Darius let her. Lucy zipped another bag shut. Then Darius spoke again. I know I screwed up. Not enough. Not even close. Lucy continued packing. I was stupid with Serena. Still not enough. She didn't mean anything. Worse. Lucy finally looked at him. You understand that saying she meant nothing doesn't make me feel better, right? Darius frowned slightly. It means you destroyed your marriage for something meaningless. The truth hit harder than yelling ever could. He looked away. Lucy noticed his phone vibrating on the dresser. Serena. Again. Interesting. Darius quickly silenced it. Lucy smiled faintly. You should answer. It's not important. But she was important enough to risk me. His face tightened painfully. Lucy walked toward the closet slowly, then paused deliberately. You know what's funny? She asked softly. Darius looked exhausted already. What I used to think your mother hated me because I wasn't wealthy enough. She pulled another box from the shelf. Now I think she hated me because I loved you before she taught you how to become her. The room went completely still. Darius stared at her like she'd slapped him. Maybe she had, emotionally. Because deep down he knew it was true. Gloria Whitaker didn't just manipulate people, she replicated herself through them, and Darius became her favorite creation. His voice lowered dangerously. Don't psychoanalyze my family. Lucy almost laughed. Your family, not our marriage, never their marriage, always his family versus Lucy, even after all these years. That realization finally killed the last illusion completely. Lucy moved toward the kitchen carrying another stack of documents. Darius followed immediately. What's in those folders? Business records. Why do you need them? Lucy stopped walking slowly. Because now came the dangerous part. The performance. Rachel warned her. Do not let him realize how much you know yet. So Lucy softened her expression slightly, pretended uncertainty, pretended exhaustion. She sighed shakily. I need security right now. Darius relaxed almost instantly. There it is. He still believed emotional women were predictable, easy to manage. He stepped closer, carefully. Lucy, I know things got ugly. Got ugly. Like the marriage accidentally spilled itself across the floor. But we can fix this, he continued. We can start over. Lucy lowered her gaze, played vulnerable. How Darius moved gently now, voice quieter. We simplify everything. Finances, stress, lawyers. Ah, there it is. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a thin folder. The financial agreement. Again. Lucy's pulse stayed perfectly calm this time. Just temporary restructuring, Darius said softly, until things settle down. She accepted the folder carefully, didn't open it, didn't refuse, just held it. Darius watched her closely. Predator patience. Read it later, he added. Sign whenever you're ready. Lucy nodded slowly. Then she did something Rachel specifically instructed. She let him think she might still trust him. Okay, she whispered. Relief flooded his face immediately. Too easy. Lucy almost pitied him. Almost. Later that night, after Darius fell asleep in the guest room, Lucy sat alone in the dark living room with her laptop open. Her hands moved steadily now, uploading evidence, duplicating files, organizing recordings. Then she found the audio file from 2 nights earlier. The one she barely remembered recording automatically after leaving the kitchen during Gloria's collapse. Lucy pressed play. Static crackled briefly. Then Darius's voice filled the speakers. Low, panicked. She was supposed to be confused enough to sign not suspicious. Lucy stopped breathing. Then Gloria answered faintly through the recording. You should have controlled your wife better. Lucy stared at the screen in complete silence. There it was. Proof, not paranoia. Not imagination. Proof. Her hands trembled slightly as she forwarded the recording to Rachel, then typed one final message beneath the attachment. I'm done being their victim. By the time Gloria Whitaker hosted her family reconciliation dinner, Lucy already knew 2 things. First, people like Gloria never apologized. Second, people like Gloria only invited witnesses when they believed they were still in control. The Whitaker mansion glowed like a palace against fresh snow that Saturday night. Valets lined the circular driveway, while luxury cars rolled in one after another, carrying Chicago's polished upper class, business partners, family friends, women in diamonds, men with old money smiles. Everyone arrived dressed for elegance. No one realized they were walking into a public execution. Lucy stood in front of the mirror at Maya's apartment, fastening a pair of silver earrings with perfectly steady hands. You sure about this? Maya asked carefully from the doorway. Lucy smoothed the black fabric of her dress slowly. It was simple, elegant, sharp, the kind of dress powerful women wore after they stopped trying to be liked. No, Lucy admitted softly. Then she picked up her clutch. But I'm done being afraid. Maya stepped closer immediately and squeezed her hand. Good. When Lucy entered the Whitaker mansion 40 minutes later, conversations visibly slowed. Not because she looked broken, because she didn't. Gloria noticed immediately, too. Lucy saw the calculation flicker behind her mother-in-law's polished smile the second she walked through the doors. Interesting. Gloria expected weakness tonight. Instead, Lucy arrived looking untouchable. "There she is," Gloria announced loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Lucy, sweetheart, we were worried about you." Lucy almost admired the performance. Almost. Darius appeared beside his mother moments later, wearing a charcoal suit and the same carefully controlled expression he'd worn for years in boardrooms. But Lucy saw beneath it now, nervousness. "Good. Lucy," he said quietly, not warmly, cautiously, like approaching something unpredictable. Lucy gave a small, polite nod. Then her eyes moved past him and landed directly on Serena Cole. Of course Gloria invited her. Why hide humiliation when you could weaponize it publicly? Serena stood near the dining room entrance in a fitted emerald dress, one manicured hand wrapped around a champagne flute. She looked beautiful, but tense. The moment her eyes met Lucy's, something shifted in her expression. Not triumph, not confidence, fear. "Good." Lucy smiled softly at her. Serena looked away first. The dining room looked like a magazine spread. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, gold-trimmed china, perfect place settings arranged with military precision. The Whitakers always believed aesthetics could hide rot. Tonight, Lucy intended to prove otherwise. Throughout dinner, Gloria performed gracious hostess flawlessly. She laughed too brightly, touched Lucy's arm too often, spoke about family unity, like she wasn't actively trying to destroy hers. Meanwhile, Darius barely touched his food. Lucy noticed every nervous glance exchanged between him and Serena, every flicker of tension, every tiny crack. Good. Then Gloria began. "Lucy's been under a lot of stress lately." She sighed dramatically during the main course. "There it is, the setup." One of Gloria's friends frowned sympathetically. "Oh dear, is everything all right?" Before Lucy could answer, Gloria smiled sadly. "You know how sensitive creative women can be." Lucy took a slow sip of wine. Creative women. Another elegant insult? Darius cleared his throat slightly. "Mom?" "No, it's all right." Gloria waved dismissively. Marriage can be overwhelming for young women. Young women. Lucy was 32, but Gloria always spoke about her like an emotional child. "She's been exhausted lately," Gloria continued carefully. "Emotionally reactive." There it was again. Reactive. Unstable. Difficult. Lucy noticed Serena staring down at her plate now. Interesting. Maybe Serena finally understood what kind of family she attached herself to. One older man across the table chuckled lightly. "Marriage is survival." Several guests laughed politely. Lucy smiled too. Then she set down her wineglass gently. "You're absolutely right." The table quieted slightly. Lucy folded her hands calmly. "Survival is exactly what this marriage became." Darius went still. Gloria's smile tightened. Lucy continued softly. "You spend enough years being humiliated, manipulated, and lied to." She tilted her head slightly. "Eventually, you stop calling it love." Complete silence now. One of Gloria's friends shifted uncomfortably. Darius spoke carefully. "Lucy, maybe this isn't the time." "No," Lucy replied calmly. "Actually, I think it finally is." Gloria's voice sharpened slightly beneath the sweetness. "You're upsetting people." Lucy looked directly at her. "You tried to drug me." Gasps. Real ones this time. Darius shut his eyes briefly. Gloria laughed instantly. Too quickly. "Oh, for heaven's sake, no!" Lucy interrupted quietly. And somehow that soft interruption carried more power than shouting ever could. Lucy reached into her clutch slowly. Every eye at the table followed her movement. Then she placed the orange prescription bottle directly onto the white tablecloth. Silence crashed across the room. "The toxicology report confirmed the medication in your system matched this prescription," Lucy said calmly. Gloria's face changed. "Only slightly. But enough." "You're being dramatic," Gloria snapped. "No," Lucy replied softly. "I spent years being silent. There's a difference." Darius leaned toward her urgently. "Lucy, stop." There it was again. Stop. Always stop. Stop feeling. Stop reacting. Stop exposing. Lucy turned toward him slowly. Tell them about Serena. The room froze. Serena physically stiffened near the end of the table. Darius's face lost color immediately. Lucy. Tell them. Gloria intervened instantly. This is inappropriate. Lucy laughed softly under her breath. Inappropriate. Her eyes locked onto Gloria's. That's interesting coming from someone who tried to chemically manipulate her daughter-in-law into signing legal documents. The room erupted into whispers. Someone dropped a fork. Another guest stared openly at Serena now. Darius stood abruptly. Enough. Lucy remained seated, calm, controlled, terrifying. No, she said quietly. Not yet. Then she looked toward the dining room entrance. Right on cue, Rachel Monroe walked inside. Sharp navy coat, leather portfolio in hand. Beside her stood Caleb Price, the private investigator Rachel hired 2 days earlier. The atmosphere shifted instantly. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was legal. Gloria rose slowly from her chair. What is this? Rachel smiled professionally. Rachel Monroe, counsel for Mrs. Lucy Mills. Darius stared in horror. Lucy watched him carefully. Good. For the first time in years, he had no idea what came next. Rachel calmly placed several envelopes onto the table. One before Gloria, one before Darius, one beside Serena. Formal notice regarding fraud investigation, asset protection, litigation, and pending divorce proceedings, Rachel announced smoothly. The entire room exploded. What fraud? Someone whispered. Serena looked panicked now. Darius? Gloria's composure finally cracked. How dare you embarrass this family publicly? Lucy stood slowly. And suddenly every person in that dining room realized something. The woman they spent years underestimating was gone. I didn't embarrass this family, Lucy said quietly. Her eyes moved between Gloria and Darius. You did. Silence. Heavy. Final. Then Serena made the mistake Lucy had been waiting for. She looked directly at Darius and whispered shakily, You told me she had no proof. Lucy smiled. Not cruelly, just knowingly, because finally, the fear belonged to them. The scandal reached Whitaker Development Group before sunrise. By 9 a.m, 3 financial blogs had already posted anonymous reports about internal family misconduct, tied to one of Chicago's wealthiest real estate firms. By noon, the board demanded an emergency meeting. And by 3 o'clock, Darius Whitaker looked like a man watching his entire identity collapse in real time. Lucy arrived at the corporate headquarters wearing cream wool and silence. The Whitaker building rose 32 floors above downtown Chicago, Glass-Steagall and Ego, stacked into a monument to power. Lucy used to walk through these doors feeling like an outsider pretending to belong. Today the security guards greeted her carefully. Fear changed how people treated women. Rachel Monroe walked beside her carrying 2 leather folders thick with evidence. You ready? Rachel asked quietly as the elevator climbed. Lucy stared at her reflection in the mirrored walls. No. Then she exhaled softly. But I'm no longer afraid of what happens if I tell the truth. Rachel nodded once. Good, because they are. The executive boardroom sat at the top floor surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the frozen city skyline. Lucy immediately noticed the tension when she entered. No soft greetings, no polite smiles, just controlled panic. 7 board members sat around the massive walnut table, reviewing documents, while legal counsel whispered urgently near the windows. At the far end sat Darius, alone. For the first time since Lucy met him, he looked small. Not physically, socially. His suit was perfect, as always, but perfection couldn't hide fear. Dark exhaustion hollowed beneath his eyes. His jaw flexed constantly. And suddenly Lucy understood something devastating. Men like Darius never imagine consequences applying to them. That's why they unravel so violently when reality finally arrives. The board chairman, Leonard Mercer, stood as Lucy entered. Mrs. Mills he greeted carefully. Interesting. Not Mrs. Whitaker. Mrs. Mills. Lucy noticed Darius did too. Rachel took the seat beside Lucy, while Caleb Price arranged files across the table methodically. Every sound in the room suddenly felt louder. Paper shifting, pens clicking, breathing. Darius finally spoke. This entire situation has become wildly exaggerated. Rachel smiled faintly. Bad move. Lucy almost pitied him for saying that in front of lawyers. Leonard folded his hands carefully. Darius, before we continue, understand this meeting concerns potential corporate liability. There is no corporate liability. Rachel slid a file forward smoothly. Actually, she replied calmly, there appears to be extensive misuse of corporate resources tied to Mr. Whitaker's extramarital relationship. Silence. Darius's face darkened immediately. This is a personal matter. No, Rachel corrected. The moment company accounts funded hotel suites, travel expenses, and undeclared gifts for Ms. Serena Cole, it became financial misconduct. One board member swore quietly under his breath. Another began flipping through expense reports rapidly. Lucy remained silent. That was the surprising thing about reclaiming power. Sometimes silence became heavier than rage. Leonard looked toward Darius carefully. Tell me these reports are inaccurate. Darius straightened immediately. Serena handled public relations for multiple company projects. Certain expenses were business-related. Rachel calmly slid another photo across the table. The Langford Hotel. 2 champagne glasses. 1 king-size suite. Not exactly corporate strategy. Lucy watched humiliation creep across Darius's face slowly. Good. For years, he allowed her humiliation to become entertainment at family dinners. Now, he could experience some of his own. A female board member named Cynthia Green leaned back sharply. This is already catastrophic from a PR standpoint. Darius looked furious now. You're acting like I committed a crime. Rachel opened another folder. Forgery often qualifies. Complete silence. Lucy watched several heads snap upward instantly. Darius actually laughed once. Short. Disbelieving. Oh my God. Rachel's expression never changed. We have documentation showing forged signatures connected to marital asset transfers and property authorization attempts. Lucy noticed something then. Real fear, not embarrassment, not irritation, fear. Because now Darius understood this was no longer about marriage. It was about exposure. Rachel handed over copies of the forged signatures carefully. Leonard studied them in grim silence. Then he looked toward Lucy directly. Mrs. Mills, did you authorize any of these transfers? Lucy held his gaze steadily. No. Simple. Clear. True. Darius immediately leaned forward. This is ridiculous. My mother handled most estate paperwork. Interesting. Lucy nearly smiled. There it is. The first crack. The beginning of blame shifting. Even now, Darius instinctively looked for someone else to stand between him and consequences. Leonard's voice sharpened slightly. Did you know these signatures were fraudulent? Darius hesitated. Too long. Everyone noticed. I assumed paperwork had already been discussed. Lawyer language again. Careful. Cowardly. Designed to create escape routes. Rachel opened her laptop calmly. Perhaps this will clarify intent. Lucy knew what came next. The recording. Darius's face lost color immediately. Good. Rachel pressed play. Static filled the boardroom briefly. Then Darius's own voice echoed through the speakers. She was supposed to be confused enough to sign not suspicious. Silence exploded afterward. Real silence. The kind that changes careers permanently. No one moved. No one breathed. Lucy watched Darius physically unravel. It's out of context, he said immediately. Rachel looked almost bored now. What context improves drugging your wife into signing financial documents? No answer. Because there wasn't one. Leonard removed his glasses slowly. How long has this been happening? Darius rubbed his face hard. This is becoming theatrical. Lucy finally spoke for the first time in almost 20 minutes. No, she said quietly. Every eye turned toward her. It became theatrical when your family treated my life like a business inconvenience. The room stayed still. Lucy continued softly. For years, I was expected to absorb humiliation quietly, because protecting appearances mattered more than protecting people. Darius stared at her, not angry anymore, cornered. Lucy recognized it instantly. He still believed she would eventually soften. That love would rescue him from accountability. But love had already died. What remained was truth. A gray-haired board member frowned deeply. Were company funds used to support Ms. Cole personally? Before Darius could answer, an internal auditor near the windows spoke up nervously. We found irregular reimbursement patterns tied to hotel stays, dining expenses, luxury gifts, and travel. Another file hit the table. The numbers were staggering. Darius stood abruptly. "This is insane," No Leonard replied, coldly. "This is documented." The room shifted completely after that. Lucy felt it. The invisible transfer of power. 3 days ago, Darius Whitaker was a rising executive protected by wealth, legacy, and image. Now he looked like a liability. Cynthia folded her arms sharply. "If this recording leaks publicly, shareholders will destroy us." Another member nodded grimly. "And if the fraud allegations become criminal..." Nobody finished the sentence. They didn't need to. Darius looked toward Lucy desperately now. For the first time in years, she saw him without status protecting him. Just a frightened man who thought charm could outlive consequences. "Lucy," he said quietly. Her name sounded unfamiliar in his mouth suddenly, like he'd only now realized she was a real person instead of a role in his life. Lucy met his eyes calmly and felt absolutely nothing. Leonard stood slowly at the head of the table. Pending full investigation, he announced carefully, "Darius Whitaker is suspended from all executive responsibilities effective immediately." The words landed like gunfire. Darius froze completely. "No." Leonard's expression stayed cold. "You should have thought about this before turning the company into collateral damage." Lucy watched Darius look around the room desperately. Nobody defended him. Not one person. Because power circles only protect people who remain useful. And Darius Whitaker had finally become expensive. Rachel quietly closed her folders. Meeting over. Lucy stood slowly beside her. Darius moved immediately. "Lucy, wait." She paused near the boardroom doors. Not because she cared, because she wanted to hear what survival sounded like in his voice. Darius swallowed hard. "This isn't who I am." Lucy looked at him carefully, then gave the most honest answer of her life. "Yes," she said softly, "it is." And this time, she walked away without looking back. 3 nights after Darius lost his executive position, Gloria Whitaker came to Lucy's apartment alone. That fact alone told Lucy everything. Gloria never arrived anywhere without strategy, never without witnesses, never without control. So when the intercom buzzed just after 8 o'clock and the doorman announced her name, Lucy immediately understood 2 things. Something had gone wrong. And Gloria was scared. Snow fell heavily outside the downtown high-rise, while Lucy stood motionless in the middle of her living room. Maya looked up from the couch instantly. "You want me to stay?" Lucy considered it for half a second, then slowly shook her head. "No." Maya frowned. "Lucy, I need to see who she is when there's no audience." That answer seemed to settle something. Maya stood carefully. "Call me if she tries anything." Lucy nodded once. 10 minutes later, Gloria Whitaker stepped out of the elevator wearing cream wool pearls and the same icy elegance she carried like armor. But tonight there was something different beneath the polish. Desperation. Good. Lucy didn't invite her inside immediately. She stood near the open doorway calmly, while Gloria removed her gloves with slow, graceful movements. Even now, the woman performed sophistication like survival depended on it. "You've redecorated," Gloria observed coolly, glancing around the apartment. Lucy leaned lightly against the doorway. "Why are you here?" Straight to the point. Gloria noticed the change immediately. Interesting. No nervous smile, no desperate need for approval. The old Lucy would have offered tea by now. This version didn't even offer warmth. Gloria sighed softly. "May I come in?" Lucy hesitated deliberately. Power lived in pauses now. Finally, she stepped aside. 5 minutes. Gloria entered carefully, her heels clicking softly against hardwood floors. She looked around the apartment with subtle disapproval. Too modern, too personal, too alive. Nothing like the sterile perfection Gloria preferred. Lucy remained standing while Gloria sat gracefully on the cream sofa. Again, interesting. Gloria usually forced others to remain standing around her. Tonight she lowered herself first. Subconscious surrender. Lucy stayed near the kitchen island, arms folded loosely. "What do you want?" Gloria looked up slowly, and suddenly her expression softened into something almost maternal. Lucy nearly admired the skill of it. Almost. "This has all gotten terribly out of hand," Gloria said quietly. There it was. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I hurt you," just inconvenience. Lucy gave a faint, humorless smile. "You tried to drug me." Gloria waved a manicured hand lightly. "You insist on dramatizing that situation." Dramatizing. Lucy felt absolutely nothing hearing it now. That was the strange part about healing from manipulation. The insults stopped entering your bloodstream. "You put sedatives in my tea. I was trying to calm you down." The sentence landed in the room like poison. Lucy stared at her in disbelief. "You hear how insane that sounds, right?" Gloria's expression sharpened slightly. "There's no need for hostility." Hostility, another beautiful word wealthy people used when victims stopped cooperating. Lucy walked slowly toward the windows overlooking Chicago's snowy skyline. "When did you decide I wasn't human to you?" she asked softly. Gloria blinked once. What? Lucy turned back around. "You talk about me like I'm a problem to manage." Her voice stayed calm. "A stain on your family image. A liability." Gloria stood carefully now. "You married into a powerful family, Lucy. Certain expectations exist." "There it is." Gloria frowned. "That thing you all do where cruelty becomes professionalism." The older woman's patience visibly thinned. "You were emotional from the beginning." Lucy laughed quietly, not bitterly, just knowingly. "No," she corrected. "I was reacting normally to emotional abuse." The phrase visibly irritated Gloria. Good. Women like Gloria hated clinical language because it exposed manipulation too clearly. "I welcomed you into this family," Gloria snapped. Lucy stared at her. "Welcomed. Interesting version of events. You humiliated me for 4 years. I refined you." The arrogance of the statement almost took Lucy's breath away. Gloria stepped closer now, voice lower. "You came from nothing compared to what Darius was raised around." Lucy's eyes hardened immediately. "There it is? What?" "The truth." For the first time all evening, Gloria looked uncertain. Lucy continued quietly. "You never hated me because I was emotional." A pause. "You hated me because your son loved someone you couldn't control." Gloria's entire expression changed. Sharp, dangerous, cornered. Finally. "That's absurd." "No." Lucy tilted her head slightly. "I think it terrified you." Gloria's voice turned cold instantly. "You have no idea what sacrifices I made for this family. And now everyone else has to bleed for them too." Silence. Heavy. Then Gloria tried a different tactic entirely. Her shoulders softened slightly. Her tone gentled. "Darius is struggling." Lucy almost laughed. Of course. Everything always returned to Darius. He lost his position. He lost it himself. He's falling apart. And whose fault is that? Gloria's jaw tightened. "You're enjoying this." Lucy looked genuinely surprised. "No." And she meant it. That was the strange thing. Revenge fantasies felt exciting before reality arrived. But seeing Darius collapse mostly just felt sad. Not because Lucy wanted him back, because she finally understood how emotionally broken the Whitaker family truly was. Gloria stepped even closer. "You could still stop this." There it is. The real reason she came. Lucy folded her arms slowly. "Stop what?" "The investigations. The public humiliation. The divorce proceedings." Lucy stared at her. Then softly asked, "Did you stop when I cried?" Gloria said nothing. "Did you stop when your son cheated on me?" Nothing. "Did you stop when you tried to drug me?" Gloria's face hardened completely now, the performance finally cracking apart. "You were never strong enough for this family." Lucy smiled faintly, and that smile unsettled Gloria more than anger ever could. "No," Lucy replied quietly. "I was too healthy for it." The words sliced through the room. Gloria's composure snapped. "You ungrateful little girl," she hissed. "Do you know how easily women like you disappear in circles like ours?" Lucy went completely still. There it was, the real Gloria, not elegant, not refined, cruel, purely cruel. "You should have signed the papers," Gloria spat. "You should have taken the settlement quietly and left." Lucy's pulse slowed instead of racing, because now she understood something important. People reveal themselves fully when they realize manipulation stopped working. And if I didn't, Lucy asked softly. Gloria stepped closer. Then you became a threat. The room fell silent, completely silent. Lucy looked at Gloria carefully for several long seconds, then finally spoke. You really don't hear yourself, do you? Gloria opened her mouth again. Lucy raised one hand calmly and pointed upward. Gloria frowned slightly. What Lucy's expression never changed. The security camera. Everything stopped. Gloria slowly turned toward the small black camera mounted discreetly near the ceiling corner by the hallway entrance. Lucy watched realization hit her all at once. Every confession, every threat, recorded. For the first time since Lucy met her, Gloria Whitaker looked afraid. Real fear. Raw. Human. You manipulative little... The elevator ding interrupted her. Both women turned. The door slid open slowly. Rachel Monroe stepped into the hallway wearing a dark wool coat, legal folder, tucked beneath one arm. Beside her stood two uniformed police officers. Gloria's face lost all color. Rachel smiled politely. Evening, Gloria. Silence crashed through the apartment. One officer stepped forward calmly. Mrs. Whitaker, he said professionally, we need to ask you several questions regarding allegations of fraud, coercion, and attempted unlawful administration of prescription medication. Gloria looked toward Lucy in complete disbelief, as if she genuinely never imagined consequences would reach her. Lucy held her gaze steadily. No rage, no satisfaction, just truth. And somehow, that was worse. Lucy filed for divorce on a gray Tuesday morning, while snow melted slowly along the sidewalks of downtown Chicago. No dramatic music, no tears, just signatures. That was the strange thing about endings. The real ones often arrived quietly. Rachel sat beside her inside the courthouse office reviewing final documents, while city traffic blurred beyond tall windows. Once this is processed, Rachel explained calmly, temporary financial protections go into effect immediately. Lucy nodded slowly. Temporary protections. Temporary safety. Temporary freedom. It amazed her how many legal terms existed for survival. Rachel slid another document across the table. The emergency restraining request against Gloria is attached separately. Lucy signed it without hesitation. That surprised her. 6 months ago, even imagining legal action against Gloria Whitaker would have filled Lucy with guilt. Now it felt necessary, healthy even. Rachel studied her carefully afterward. How are you feeling? Lucy opened her mouth automatically. Fine. The lie nearly came out by reflex. Instead, she stopped. Thought about it honestly. Grieving, she admitted quietly. Rachel nodded once. That's normal. Lucy stared down at the divorce paperwork. Not grieving the marriage itself. That illusion died weeks ago. She was grieving the woman who kept trying to save it, the woman who confused endurance with love. By late afternoon, Lucy found herself standing outside the penthouse she once called home for what would likely be the last time. Cold wind swept through the balcony corridors while she unlocked the door slowly. Inside, silence greeted her. No music, no television, no Darius pacing through phone calls. Just stillness. The apartment looked enormous without hope inside it. Lucy stepped carefully through the living room. Memories lingered everywhere. That couch where she once fell asleep waiting for Darius to come home from late meetings. That kitchen where Gloria criticized the way she cut vegetables during holidays. That dining table where Lucy kept smiling through humiliation because she thought loyalty meant staying soft. Now the place felt haunted by versions of herself she no longer recognized. She moved methodically through the bedroom, collecting the last of her things: winter coats, shoes, books. The framed photo of her father smiling beside Lake Michigan during the summer before he died. She paused longest there. Her father. God. What would he think if he saw what she allowed herself to become inside this marriage? Not weak. Never weak. Just starved for love in the wrong place. The sound of the elevator opening broke her thoughts. Lucy froze slightly. Then footsteps approached. Darius. Of course. He entered the apartment slowly wearing a black wool coat dusted with snow. Exhaustion clung to him now permanently. The sharp polish that once made him look untouchable had started cracking apart. Good. For years, Lucy carried destruction invisibly, while Darius looked perfect beside her. Now the damage finally reached his surface too. His eyes found the packed boxes immediately. "You're really leaving." Not angry, not mocking, just stunned. Lucy folded another sweater calmly. "I already left." Darius shut the apartment door quietly behind him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then he finally said it. "I never thought it would go this far." Lucy almost laughed. That was always the problem with selfish people. They believe pain stopped exactly where their comfort ended. "You drugged your wife," Lucy replied softly. "What part did you think would stay small?" Darius ran one hand through his hair roughly. "I didn't drug you. You stood there while it happened." His silence confessed enough. Lucy kept packing. She no longer needed admissions. Truth had already exposed itself. Darius stepped closer carefully. "Serena's gone." Lucy didn't react. "She left the city this morning. Still nothing. She's cooperating with attorneys now." That almost made Lucy smile. Of course Serena chose survival. Everyone eventually did. Except Lucy had spent years choosing sacrifice instead. Darius watched her quietly. "I know you hate me." Lucy paused, then looked at him honestly. "No." That answer clearly surprised him. "I don't hate you anymore." Darius swallowed hard. "What's that supposed to mean?" Lucy zipped another suitcase slowly before answering. "It means I finally stopped loving you enough to destroy myself for you." The words hit him visibly. Good. Because Lucy had spent years carrying words that shattered her privately, while Darius slept peacefully beside her. Now he could feel some of it too. Darius sat heavily on the edge of the bed. "You think this is easy for me?" Lucy stared at him. That sentence. God. Men like Darius always centered themselves, that even inside the wreckage they created. "You lost your company position," Lucy replied quietly. "I lost my reality." Silence. Heavy. Final. Darius looked older suddenly. Not physically. Emotionally. Like consequences had finally forced him to meet himself without privilege softening the reflection. "My mother manipulated me," he said softly. Lucy almost pitied him. Almost. "No," she corrected gently. "Your mother taught you manipulation works." That landed hard. Darius looked down at his hands. "She controlled everything growing up. And now you do the same thing." His jaw tightened instantly. "I'm not her." Lucy looked at him carefully for a very long time, then spoke with heartbreaking honesty. "You became the version of her that wears better suits." The room went completely still. Outside, snow drifted slowly beyond the glass skyline. Darius rubbed his eyes hard suddenly. Exhausted. Cornered. Human. And for the first time since all this started, Lucy finally saw something real in him. Regret. Not enough to erase anything, but real. "I did love you," he whispered. Lucy's chest tightened painfully, because she believed him. That was the tragedy. Darius probably did love her once, just not more than power, not more than approval, not more than himself. And eventually, selfish love always turns cruel. Lucy reached toward the dresser slowly, then removed her wedding ring. The diamond caught pale winter light as she held it in her palm. For years that ring felt sacred. Now it felt heavy, like evidence. Darius watched her silently. Then Lucy walked into the kitchen and placed the ring carefully onto the marble counter between them. The sound it made was tiny, but final. Darius physically flinched. "Lucy." His voice cracked for the first time. Not performative, not polished, broken. But Lucy couldn't rescue him anymore. That was another thing abusive relationships stole from women, the ability to understand they are not responsible for saving the people hurting them. She picked up the final box slowly. "I signed the lease this morning," she said quietly. Darius blinked. "What lease?" "My apartment." The words stunned him. Lucy almost smiled. Good. For years he believed she needed him financially, socially, emotionally. Now he finally understood she didn't. "My event company signed 2 new contracts," Lucy continued softly. One with a women-led nonprofit, another with the Blackstone Hotel. Darius stared at her like he was seeing someone entirely new. Maybe he was. Lucy walked toward the front door, carrying the box carefully. Darius stood quickly. Wait. She stopped. Not because she wanted to, because endings deserved witnesses. I know I ruined this, he whispered. Lucy closed her eyes briefly, then answered without cruelty, yes. The honesty shattered him more than anger could have. His phone rang suddenly in the silence. Darius glanced down automatically. Serena. Again. Lucy almost laughed at the irony. Even now, consequences kept calling him. He answered shakily, What? A long pause followed. Then his face drained completely of color. What do you mean you gave them everything? Lucy understood instantly. Serena flipped. Good. Darius looked toward Lucy with real fear now. Not fear of losing his marriage, fear of losing control permanently. Lucy opened the apartment door slowly. Cold winter air swept inside. Then she looked back one final time, at the penthouse, at the marriage, at the man she once begged to love her gently, and for the first time in years, walking away felt lighter than staying. Serena Cole arrived at Rachel Monroe's office wearing oversized sunglasses and fear. Real fear. Not social embarrassment, not regret. Survival fear. Lucy watched through the conference room windows as Serena hesitated outside the building entrance for nearly 30 seconds before finally stepping inside. Interesting. For months, Serena walked confidently beside Darius Whitaker, believing she was entering a glamorous future. Now she looked like a woman realizing powerful men rarely protect their mistresses once consequences arrive. Rachel closed the office door behind them quietly. No recordings without consent, she said calmly. No games. No theatrics. Serena removed her sunglasses slowly. She looked exhausted. Mascara smudged. Hair hurriedly tied back. Nothing like the polished woman Lucy first saw inside the Langford Hotel bar. Lucy expected satisfaction seeing her unravel. Instead, she mostly felt sad, because Serena wasn't the villain of this story. Just another woman, willing to mistake attention for love. I didn't know about the pills, Serena said immediately. No greeting, no apology, straight into self-preservation. Rachel remained expressionless. Then start with what you did know. Serena swallowed hard. Lucy noticed her hands trembling. He told me the marriage was already dead. Classic. Lucy almost smiled bitterly. Men always buried relationships emotionally before burying them legally. He said Lucy was unstable, Serena continued quietly, that she refused to let him go. Lucy stared at her calmly. No anger left, just observation. Serena looked toward Lucy, then quickly away again. I know how that sounds now. It sounds convenient, Rachel replied. Serena flinched. Good. Rachel opened a file carefully. We already have evidence of the affair. Financial misconduct. Fraud attempts. Her eyes sharpened. The only thing left to determine is how involved you became knowingly. Fear crossed Serena's face again instantly. There it is. Not heartbreak. Self-protection. Lucy recognized it because she finally learned the difference between love and survival instincts. Serena leaned forward slightly. I never wanted anyone hurt. Rachel raised one eyebrow. You participated in a relationship with a married man actively trying to manipulate his wife into signing away assets. Silence. Serena's eyes filled briefly. He told me she'd be taken care of. Lucy laughed softly before she could stop herself. The room turned toward her. Taken care of. Lucy repeated quietly. God. What a beautiful phrase for destruction. Serena looked ashamed now, as she should. But shame wasn't enough anymore. Lucy spent too many years accepting guilt instead of accountability from people. Rachel slid several printed messages across the table, texts between Serena and Darius. Romantic at first, then strategic, then ugly. Lucy read them silently while Serena avoided eye contact. She's getting suspicious. Mom says we need to move faster. She'll sign once things calm down. Lucy felt strangely detached reading them now, like watching autopsy reports from a life already buried. Serena finally spoke again. Gloria hated you. Lucy looked up slowly. Interesting choice of words. Past tense. She said you embarrassed the family. Serena continued carefully. That you were emotionally weak, too attached, too dependent on Darius. Lucy almost smiled. The irony nearly hurt. Because the entire Whitaker family structure depended on emotional dependency. Gloria needed control, Darius needed approval, and Serena needed validation. Meanwhile, Lucy was the only person trying to love honestly. Rachel interrupted sharply. "Tell us about the property transfers." Serena hesitated again. "Wrong move." Rachel's expression hardened instantly. "You are not here as a protected witness yet." That landed. Serena exhaled shakily. Darius planned to sell the Michigan property. Lucy went completely still. Her father's land, the small lakeside property he bought before cancer, destroyed him. The only inheritance Lucy ever cared about emotionally. "He said it was wasted sitting under Lucy's name," Serena whispered. Lucy felt cold spread through her chest slowly. Not grief. Rage. Real rage this time. Because that property wasn't luxury, it was memory. Her father teaching her to fish by the lake, bonfires during summer storms, the last place in the world where she ever felt completely safe, and Darius planned to sell it like spare furniture. Rachel leaned forward carefully. Did Gloria know? Serena laughed weakly. Gloria knew everything. Of course she did. She even met me twice privately, Serena admitted quietly. She said if I stayed patient, everything would work out. Lucy stared at her. How could you trust a woman who treated other women like disposable objects? Serena's eyes filled instantly, because there it was, the real question. Not, how could you sleep with a married man, but how could you watch another woman being destroyed and still believe you'd be treated differently? Serena looked down at her hands. I thought I was different. Lucy's chest tightened unexpectedly, because that sentence sounded painfully familiar. Lucy once believed she was different too, different enough to soften Darius, different enough to earn Gloria's approval, different enough to survive a toxic family with love. Women always think love grants immunity, until it doesn't. Rachel gathered several documents into a neat pile. We'll need full cooperation moving forward. Serena nodded quickly. You'll have it. Rachel studied her carefully. Why now? The room quieted completely. Serena's answer came softer this time, because the moment everything started collapsing. She swallowed hard. Darius blamed everyone except himself. Lucy almost laughed. Of course he did. That was the final evolution of selfish men. First they manipulate, then they deny. Then they panic, then they blame. Serena wiped beneath one eye carefully. He said I distracted him, that I complicated things. Her voice cracked slightly. Like I wasn't standing there because he invited me into his life. Lucy watched her silently. No hatred remained, just clarity. Serena wasn't a seductress. She was another person Darius used to feed his ego. The difference was, Lucy finally stopped accepting it. Rachel closed the folder decisively. This gives us enough to strengthen the fraud case significantly. Lucy nodded slowly. Then Rachel turned toward her carefully. There's something else. Rachel slid forward another document. Lucy immediately recognized the property records. Her stomach tightened. These transfer requests were already being drafted, Rachel explained quietly. If we hadn't intervened quickly, the Michigan property likely would have been sold within months. Lucy stared at the papers numbly. Darius planned this long before the tea, long before exposure, long before consequences. The betrayal wasn't impulsive, it was architectural, designed carefully over time. Serena looked visibly uncomfortable now. He said you'd recover eventually. Lucy laughed softly again. Recover. Like grief was an inconvenience, women were expected to survive quietly. Lucy picked up the property file slowly. Her father's signature from years earlier stared back at her. For one painful second, she remembered standing beside Darius at her father's funeral while he held her hand and promised, I'll always protect what matters to you. The memory hurt differently now, not because the promise was broken, because Darius probably believed it when he made it. That was the terrifying thing about selfish people. They mean things temporarily. Rachel interrupted her thoughts gently. Lucy. She looked up. Rachel's expression softened slightly. We can stop this. Lucy stared at the documents for another long moment, then finally closed the folder carefully. No tears came this time. No shaking, just resolve. Because grief had finally transformed into something stronger. Boundary. Lucy looked toward Rachel calmly, then toward Serena. then finally toward the frozen skyline beyond the office windows. "They tried to erase me," she said quietly. The room stayed silent. Lucy's eyes hardened for the first time all afternoon. "Now we make sure they lose everything they built doing it." The courthouse smelled like old paper-polished wood and anxiety. Lucy stood outside courtroom 4B at exactly 8:43 that morning, watching snow dissolve against the city sidewalks below the courthouse steps. Chicago moved normally outside. People carried coffee cups. Taxi horns echoed through traffic. Strangers laughed into their phones. Meanwhile, inside the courthouse, Lucy prepared to dismantle the family that spent years dismantling her. The irony almost made her smile. Rachel adjusted the sleeve of her navy blazer beside her. "You okay?" Lucy thought about the question honestly. No, but she was steady. And after everything, steady mattered more. "I'm ready," she answered quietly. That was enough. Across the hallway, Darius stood beside his attorney, looking like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. His expensive suit hung differently now, less like confidence, more like costume. No executive title, no polished boardroom authority. Just consequences wrapped in cashmere. When his eyes found Lucy, something raw crossed his face. Grief. Real grief. Too late. Gloria sat several feet away, near the courtroom entrance, wearing gray silk and pearls, like she still believed elegance could shield her from accountability. But Lucy noticed the tiny tremor in Gloria's hands. Fear. Good. For years, Lucy carried fear alone, while Gloria called it weakness. Now they could share it. The courtroom filled slowly with attorneys, clerks, observers, and quiet whispers from reporters drawn by the growing Whitaker scandal. Wealth always attracted spectators when it started bleeding publicly. Lucy took her seat beside Rachel calmly. Across the room, Darius kept staring at her like he still couldn't fully understand how she escaped his control. That realization almost hurt him more than the legal disaster. The judge entered promptly at 9. Everything began. Hours blurred afterward into testimony, evidence, and carefully controlled destruction. Rachel moved through the case like a surgeon. Precise, cold, unavoidable. Bank records appeared first, then forged signatures, then the financial transfers, then the hotel records connecting Serena and Darius to company expense accounts. Every document stripped away another layer of the Whitaker image. Lucy watched Darius shrink slowly beneath it all. The affair alone damaged him, but the fraud destroyed him. Because wealthy men survived infidelity all the time, what they rarely survived was exposure. Then came Gloria's testimony. Lucy almost admired the woman's composure. Almost. Gloria sat upright in the witness chair, voice smooth and practiced. "I was concerned about Lucy's emotional well-being," she explained carefully. She had become increasingly unstable. There it was, the story they built. Lucy waited calmly. Rachel stood slowly. "Mrs. Whitaker," she began, "did you or did you not place prescription sedatives into tea intended for Mrs. Mills?" Gloria's expression barely shifted. "No." Lie. Smooth, elegant, expected. Rachel nodded once, then calmly pressed play on the security footage audio from Lucy's apartment. Gloria's own voice filled the courtroom. "You should have signed the papers. You became a threat. You were never strong enough for this family." The silence afterward felt electric. For the first time, Gloria Whitaker looked old. Not refined, not powerful, just old. Rachel approached carefully. "You also stated Mrs. Mills was emotionally unstable." "Yes." "Can you explain why you secretly consulted hospital staff regarding psychiatric intervention before the tea incident?" Gloria hesitated. "Too long." Rachel moved in immediately. "Or why forged signatures connected to Mrs. Mills appeared on property transfer documents prepared under your supervision." "I never instructed anyone to forge documents." Interesting wording. Rachel noticed too. Instructed, she repeated softly. "So you acknowledge awareness of the documents?" Gloria froze. Tiny mistake. Fatal mistake. Lucy watched the realization hit Gloria almost instantly. Too late. Rachel stepped back smoothly. No further questions. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Then Darius took the stand. Lucy didn't expect that to hurt anymore. She was wrong. Because seeing someone you once loved publicly unravel carried its own grief. Darius looked exhausted as he sat down. For a brief second, Lucy remembered the younger version of him, the man who danced with her barefoot in tiny apartments before money poisoned him completely. Then Rachel began questioning. "Mr. Whitaker," she said calmly, "did you engage in an extramarital relationship with Serena Cole during your marriage?" "Yes." The honesty surprised the room. Lucy realized why immediately. Darius had stopped trying to look innocent. Now he only wanted survival. "Did you approve financial expenditures related to Ms. Cole using company resources?" A pause. "Yes." Another whisper spread through the courtroom. Rachel nodded once. "And did you state, quote, she was supposed to be confused enough to sign not suspicious?" Darius shut his eyes briefly. "Yes." The courtroom went completely still. Rachel approached carefully now. "What exactly did you mean by that statement?" Darius looked toward Lucy for the first time all morning. And suddenly he looked devastated. Not manipulative, not polished, just broken. "We wanted her to sign financial restructuring documents," he admitted quietly. "We, my mother and I." The words landed like concrete. Lucy felt something strange then. Not satisfaction, relief. Because finally, the truth existed publicly. No more whispering, no more gaslighting. No more pretending Lucy imagined the cruelty done to her. Rachel's voice sharpened slightly. "Did Mrs. Mills know the true nature of those documents?" "No." "And was she informed that sedatives had been placed in the tea served to her?" Darius's silence lasted too long. Then finally, no. The courtroom erupted into murmurs again. Lucy closed her eyes briefly. There it was. The confession she spent years begging for, emotionally, now existed legally instead. Funny how accountability finally arrived once love disappeared. Then Rachel asked the final question. "Why did you do it?" Darius stared down at his hands for several long seconds. When he finally answered, his voice sounded hollow. "I thought I could control the damage." Damage. Lucy almost laughed through the pain. That was all she ever became to them. Damage management. Rachel sat down quietly afterward. The judge reviewed notes in silence while the courtroom buzzed softly around them. Then Lucy heard her own name, Mrs. Mills. Rachel touched her arm gently. Lucy stood and walked toward the witness stand. The room felt strangely distant suddenly, muted, slow. Lucy sat down carefully. The judge regarded her kindly. "Take your time." Lucy nodded once, then looked directly ahead, not at Darius, not at Gloria, forward. "For years," she began softly, "I believed enduring pain made me loyal." The courtroom quieted completely. Lucy's voice remained steady. "I thought if I loved hard enough, sacrificed enough, stayed patient enough." She swallowed carefully. "Eventually, I would become worthy of kindness." Across the room, Darius lowered his head. "Good," Lucy continued. "But emotional abuse changes you slowly." Her eyes glistened now. "You stop trusting your instincts. You stop trusting your memory. Eventually, you stop trusting yourself." Silence. Heavy, real. Lucy looked toward the judge calmly. "They kept calling me emotional whenever I reacted to being hurt." A faint, bitter smile crossed her lips, as if pain was irrational. Several people shifted uncomfortably. "Good. They made me feel weak for staying," Lucy whispered. Then her voice hardened slightly. "But I wasn't weak." She looked directly at Darius now. "I was surviving what I had not yet learned how to leave." The sentence settled across the courtroom like truth itself. Even Gloria looked shaken by it. After another hour of rulings, testimony, and legal review, the judge finally delivered the decision. Asset protections granted. Restraining orders approved. Financial investigations proceeding. Criminal referral recommendations attached regarding fraud and unlawful administration of medication. The Whitaker empire cracked completely. Outside the courthouse afterward, reporters swarmed like winter birds around blood. Flashbulbs exploded everywhere. Rachel guided Lucy carefully through the crowd toward the courthouse steps. Then a voice stopped her. "Lucy." "Darius." She turned slowly. For one long moment, they simply looked at each other, while snow drifted softly between them. He looked destroyed now, not socially, internally. "Did you ever love me?" he asked quietly. "God." The sadness in that question almost hurt. Almost. Lucy stepped closer slowly, then answered with complete honesty. I loved who you pretended to be. Darius closed his eyes like the words physically wounded him. And maybe they did, because sometimes the cruelest consequence isn't losing someone. It's realizing they finally saw you clearly. 6 months later, Lucy Mills woke up to silence that no longer hurt. Morning light spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her downtown apartment, while soft jazz played from the kitchen speaker and snow melted slowly across Chicago rooftops below. No tension, no criticism, no waiting for footsteps that change the atmosphere of a room. Just peace. Real peace. Lucy stood barefoot in the kitchen wearing an oversized cream sweater while coffee brewed nearby. Fresh tulips sat inside a glass vase beside the sink, yellow this week. She bought herself flowers now. That realization still made her smile sometimes. Not because flowers mattered, because freedom did. Her phone buzzed softly across the counter. A text from Maya. Tonight. Don't cancel. You deserve celebration. Lucy laughed quietly under her breath. 6 months ago, Maya practically dragged her through survival. Now she was dragging her toward joy. Progress came in strange forms. Lucy carried her coffee toward the windows slowly. The city stretched endlessly beneath her apartment. Alive, moving, unaffected by the fact that Lucy Whittaker no longer existed. Good, because she wasn't Lucy Whittaker anymore. She was Lucy Mills again. And somehow reclaiming her own name felt more intimate than reclaiming any money or property ever could. The divorce finalized 3 weeks earlier. Clean, public, permanent. The Whittaker empire never fully recovered from the scandal. Whittaker Development Group lost 2 major investors within months of the court hearings. Gloria's social circle quietly abandoned her, once investigations became public enough to threaten their own reputations. Wealthy people rarely cared about morality, but they cared deeply about proximity to scandal. Gloria still lived inside the mansion in Lake Forest. Alone now. Several magazines described her as reclusive. Lucy found that word almost poetic. For years, Gloria isolated other people emotionally. Now, isolation finally returned home to her. Darius disappeared from public business circles almost entirely after the investigation into corporate misuse expanded. Last Lucy heard, he was consulting remotely for a smaller real estate firm in another state. Far away. Smaller life. Smaller rooms. Smaller importance. Funny. The man who sacrificed love for power lost both. Lucy didn't celebrate that anymore. Not because he didn't deserve consequences, because healing eventually exhausted revenge. Therapy taught her that. 3 sessions in Dr. Evelyn Carter asked Lucy something no one ever had before. What if your worth was never supposed to be earned through suffering? Lucy cried for nearly 20 minutes afterward. Because women like her grew up believing love required endurance, tolerance, sacrifice, silence. Now she was learning something revolutionary instead. Healthy love did not require self-erasure. The thought still felt unfamiliar some days, but beautiful. Lucy's event company had grown faster than she expected after the divorce. Ironically, surviving public humiliation made clients trust her more, women especially. She became known for creating emotionally intimate charity galas, women-led business launches, and nonprofit fundraising events centered around healing and empowerment. Turns out pain translated beautifully into empathy when it stopped controlling you. Tonight's event happened at the Blackstone Hotel downtown, a women's leadership foundation celebrating female entrepreneurs. 6 months ago, Lucy would have attended something like this while anxiously checking whether Darius approved of her dress. Tonight, she walked into the ballroom approving of herself. That changed everything. Lucy Maya waved dramatically from near the champagne tower, while Rachel stood beside her looking polished. As always, Lucy smiled immediately. These women, God. They helped rebuild parts of her she thought were permanently destroyed. You're late, Maya accused. I own the event, Lucy replied dryly. Technically, everyone else is early. Rachel laughed softly. There she is. Confidence still felt strange sometimes, but not wrong anymore. As the evening unfolded, Lucy moved gracefully through the ballroom, greeting guests, adjusting details, thanking sponsors, and quietly admiring the life she built from ashes. No Whitaker name attached. No Darius. Just her. Near the end of the night, while the final speaker discussed financial independence for women rebuilding after trauma, Lucy slipped briefly onto the outdoor terrace for air. Snow drifted lightly over the city skyline. Chicago looked softer at night, more forgiving. Her phone buzzed quietly inside her coat pocket. Unknown number. Lucy almost ignored it. Almost. Then curiosity won. One voicemail. She pressed play slowly. Darius. Her chest tightened instinctively at the sound of his voice. Not with love. Memory. Lucy. He sounded tired. Older somehow. I know I don't deserve your time. A long pause followed, but I needed to say something. Wind crackled softly through the voicemail. I keep thinking about the woman you were when we met. Lucy closed her eyes briefly. Not because she missed him, because she missed her. The hopeful version, the softer version. Darius continued quietly. You loved me before I became someone obsessed with proving himself. His voice broke slightly. And I punished you for that love instead of protecting it. Silence. Then I'm sorry. Real apology. Late, but real. Lucy leaned against the terrace railing, staring out across the city lights. Darius's voice softened further. You once asked me when I stopped choosing you. Another pause. I think the truth is, I stopped choosing myself first. The voicemail ended there. Lucy stood motionless for several seconds afterward, then slowly slipped the phone back into her pocket. No tears came. No anger either. Just closure. Real closure. Not because Darius apologized. Because Lucy no longer needed the apology to heal. That was freedom too. When she returned inside, Maya immediately narrowed her eyes. You okay? Lucy smiled softly. Yeah. And this time it was true. Later that night, after the ballroom emptied and staff cleared the final champagne glasses, Lucy returned home exhausted in the best possible way. She changed into pajamas, removed her makeup, made tea, chamomile. The irony almost made her laugh every time now. She carried the mug toward the windows overlooking the sleeping city, then paused near the fireplace. A single unopened envelope rested on the table beside the candles, forwarded from her old lawyer's office, Darius Whitaker. Lucy stared at it quietly. The old version of herself would have opened it immediately, searching for explanations, validation, or proof she mattered. This version already knew she mattered. Slowly, Lucy picked up the envelope, walked toward the fireplace, and held one corner carefully above the flame of a candle. The paper caught fire slowly. Orange light curled through the letter until ash drifted softly downward into the fireplace tray. Lucy watched it burn calmly. Not out of hatred, out of release. Some stories only stop haunting you once you stop rereading them. The apartment fell quiet again afterward. Soft, safe, peaceful. Lucy moved toward the mirror, near the hallway, one last time before bed. For years, she avoided her own reflection after Gloria convinced her she was too emotional, too sensitive, too much. Now she looked directly at herself and saw none of those things. She saw survival, strength, grace. A woman who walked through betrayal without becoming cruel. A woman who finally understood that kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Most importantly, she saw herself. And for the first time in years, that was enough. Sometimes the deepest betrayal in life is not being cheated on. It's slowly being convinced that your pain is inconvenient, that your boundaries are too emotional, that your kindness should come with endless forgiveness while other people continue to wound you without consequences. Lucy's story reminds us of something many people learn far too late. Being a good person does not mean accepting disrespect. Love should never require you to shrink yourself, doubt your reality, or beg for basic kindness. And no relationship, no matter how long, beautiful, or complicated, is worth losing your self-respect. The hardest part about emotional abuse is that it rarely begins with cruelty, loud enough to recognize. It starts quietly. A dismissal here, a manipulation there, a partner who stops protecting your heart but still expects access to it. Over time, you begin apologizing for reactions to wounds you never deserved in the first place. But healing begins the moment you stop asking, how do I make them love me? And start asking, why am I accepting less than I deserve? Lucy didn't truly win because Darius lost his career. She didn't win because Gloria faced consequences. She won because she finally chose herself. She stopped confusing endurance with love. She stopped believing loyalty meant silence. And most importantly, she learned that walking away from toxicity is not failure, it is self-respect. Sometimes karma is not revenge. Sometimes karma is simply watching someone lose access to the person who loved them the most. And if you're listening to this while going through heartbreak, manipulation, betrayal, or emotional exhaustion, remember this: your sensitivity is not weakness. Your kindness is not stupidity. And needing peace does not make you difficult to love. Never abandon yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. If Lucy's journey touched you, tell us in the comments what moment hit you the hardest. And have you ever had to choose yourself after being hurt by someone you trusted? Don't forget to subscribe for more emotional stories about betrayal, healing, strength, and women who rise after being broken. Sometimes a story can remind us that surviving is only the beginning, and healing is where life truly starts.